Mom, Naomi Judd, and her big sister Winona are off touring the country. Ashley Judd is taking the world by storm. Last year, Ashley Judd starred in one of 1999's biggest hits, Double Jeopardy, and she's getting ready to do it again. She has a new movie coming out. It's called Eye of the Beholder, and this time she plays a woman suspected of being a serial killer. Take a look.
What do you do for a living, Miss Yates?
I'm a wink maker. If you're drumming up some business.
You sure you got $1,000?
No. But I'm sure we can come to some kind of an arrangement.
And this man is obsessed by her. A lot of people are obsessed by Ashley Judd these days. Please welcome her back to The View, Ashley Judd. You are hot.
Thank you.
Honey, you are hot.
Hi, my dear. I'm going to try to say the movie title the way you did, because that's a good sell. You went, Eye of the Beholder.
Well, it's a spooky movie. How are you on accents?
Well, it depends on which one you want me to use, because I heard you saying I don't have a southern accent.
No, but you found
You want Williamson County, Tennessee?
Oh, yeah.
Or we can go a little further south and make it real open like the anyway.
But ordinarily you can't tell where you're from. You speak meticulously.
Well, I think that because of the music in my family and growing up around melodies, I ended up having an ear that adapts pretty easily. And I was so glad that you said that thing about when you're in Paris or whenever someone lives abroad. It happens. You just kind of ameliorate it without being conscious.
And everybody thinks you're effective.
Yeah. All of a sudden you can say bean instead of ben.
That's right.
And in the South, when we were also saying that people are accused of sounding dense with the accent, for example, many people still say, have you et yet? Which is not the Queen's English, that's the King's English, like George III. And it's just been distilled in a very pure way from former generations to today.
Okay, now I want to just ask you something, not about your accent, but about your personality. So in Double Jeopardy, you're a woman who wanted to kill. In Eye of the Beholder, you are a serial killer. What's with you in killing? What do they see in you?
Well, actually, I think that in Double Jeopardy, my greatest motivation is to be reunited with my child. Okay. And of course, the vengeance aspect gives a lot of adrenaline to the plot, maybe held together some of the male viewers a little bit more than if it had strictly been, gee, reunite me with my kid as a theme. And in this one, it was really hard. There's no way, I don't think, to prepare for acting killing someone. You have no personal frame of reference. I felt that way about the press before. But you just kind of, you just kind of have to believe that your talent on the day will get you to the place that you need to be.
How many people have you killed in your various movies? In
my various movies? I think my grand total is 3, which is the number in this movie. The first one, though, is the one that's on screen, and it was kind of that exquisitely brutal artistic thing to try to do. Because, again, you don't know how to prepare, and at the same time, while it's happening, you don't even know if what you're doing is authentic, and you just kind of have to over-prepare emotionally so you'll be hysterical and hope it plays.
Are you now getting all kinds of parts? I mean, this has all happened. It must have changed your life, has it?
It has not really changed my life, and that's perhaps because I have a conscious choice not to be changed. But it does mean that it's a little bit easier to get certain roles. There are sort of those lists, the short list the studio has, and then people the director wants to see, and those things have sort of come together now.
Yeah, and they know that you're a terrific actress.
Well, thank you.
You know, when I interviewed your mother and sister 6 years ago, you were the kid that was out in California struggling, and your mother kept saying, there's Ashley. Yeah, oh yeah, fine. But it's tough enough for an actress when he or she is trying to make it. But when your mother and sister are stars, is it extra tough? Do you have to kind of keep down resentment?
Definitely no resentment.
Yeah.
Which I know may be difficult for some people to believe, but maybe if I say it long enough, it'll take. There was a part of it that was helpful that is not necessarily predictable, and that is when I was young, I saw that it doesn't necessarily make you happy. Having fame or financial security doesn't create, you know, a sense of joy in your life automatically. And so I knew when I went to Hollywood, it really had to be for the acting and not for the superfluous things that accompany it. Because otherwise I'd never be a contented person.
Yeah, well, you had your ups and downs, the whole family did. One of the things that's also changed is that in your first film, I hear you turned it down, or you turned down an early film because they wanted you to be in the nude. And, right?
There's a little bit more to it than that.
Oh.
You ready for me?
Because now you are doing a little nude stuff.
Well, this is actually a perfect angle to show it. Actresses can protect themselves a lot of ways, and it's blatant in love scenes with the sheet just strategically like this.
Yeah.
But when I was getting into the bathtub, I meant to just put my arm slightly in front of me, so that you wouldn't see the side of my breast.
Which
but
we
the
see.
take
Yep.
they used, you do see the side of my breast, and I'm fine with that. It's
so when you saw it, you said okay.
Yeah, it
but
was
fine with me. Would you do completely nude now?
Yes, I would. Yeah. Under the right circumstances and with the right point in the plot and all that. I mean, I started out Norma Jean and naked. I mean, Norma Jean and Marilyn, because Marilyn Monroe had a recurring dream her whole life that she was naked in a church. And I loved the play about persona and clothes and hiding and wanting to be known for what she really was, this incredibly vulnerable spirit who was instead revered as a goddess. And what's that great line where the guy says, "No, honey, everybody loves you, just not the ones who know you." You know? So that was fine with me. The thing that you brought up earlier, it was actually just a screen test. And they wanted all 3 women in the screen test to be naked. My very first audition, totally naive, but even then I could say, okay, the actor, the producers, the director, the studio person, the casting director, it's about a pair of breasts. Bye.
Yeah. And so your answer was, not today, thanks. Yeah. You know, we have sort of seen each other over the years and watched you grow. I'm so pleased for your success because you are such a good actress. And it did take a little while. It didn't happen in 10 minutes. Even the fact that you didn't show the breasts. I mean, that, you know. So my pals have a lot of questions to ask you. And you stay with us, and we'll come right back. We want to talk a lot more to Ashley Judd. Stay with us. Are you going to get back together again and perform together? And would you want that again, Winona?
Remember, I'm your #1 babysitter. I sort of check out when people ask me that. It's like too much information. My brain cells are just colliding. I am for whatever God has planned for me. I've just decided that He has a really, really a good sense of humor, and I'm going to go with it.
I must say, that's the first time I've seen my family in 2 weeks.
Obviously, they're natural redheads.
So obviously. Is it the magenta tint that helps give it away?
So actually, in case you can't figure it out, we're back with Ashley Judd. Back when we had them on, everyone in the audience was excited to see them singing together again. So they're on tour. Are you as excited to see them performing together again?
It's pretty special. You know, and Mom, her stage moves, wait, which one was it? Like this one? Has simmered down just a little bit, so it's not quite as excruciating for us as a daughter, you know. But it's wonderful, and they sang together New Year's Eve. It was a wonderful mix, because Sister did her very popular #1, some of her new material, which is totally hot, and then occasionally Mother and she did the old Judd standbys, and it was so great.
Don't you call her Winona? You call her sister?
Yeah.
Is that a Southern thing?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And then you've got, of course, Sister Mommy Aunt, which I could be because I'm her sister, and like a mommy aunt to Elijah and Grace. It goes on. And then, of course, there's sister husband and all that.
By the way, your mom still does work it, though. She's amazing.
She's so funny.
But the family relationship has always been very special to hear.
Yes, it has.
The kind of feeling that you seem to all have for each other.
Well, you call Winona sister, but you call yourself Ballbuster, I heard.
Is that true? Well, this is one of those things, Meredith, where somebody called me that in Cosmo, and then it was perpetrated in another magazine. So I guess at this point I should just say, yeah. Like, I wake up and I think, oh, good morning, Ballbuster.
It means, if there are little children watching, that she likes to play ball, and sometimes the ball busts.
Exactly. I hit it so hard it explodes.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Anyway, Ashley, most of my male friends will kill me if I don't just come out and ask you, what kind of men are you attracted to?
Well, I've always said an equal, which, you know, being a ball buster is really important. if you're direct, I think, and clear about yourself emotionally, and even when you're confused, have the vulnerability to express that, it's, I think, more fitting if you have someone who can do those same things. I also know that complimenting one another is an important aspect of a relationship, and where I'm a little weaker, have someone stronger, and then also be able to help them when it's
Oh, I
important.
thought you meant like saying, I like your hair today. You don't mean that. I really did. So I
You know
think
what?
I never do that.
There's a lot to be said for men who can compliment women.
Yes, that's true.
There really is.
Does it make you crazy when you read stuff
Yeah.
about I knew. It does. And you are so willing to just go out there and go, that's nuts. It makes no sense. How do you get rid of that, or how do you deal with it on a regular basis when people just write stuff that just has no bearing on your life?
When I was in art school in the south of France, this friend I made, whom I have not seen since that time, created for me a sweet little duck out of fabric, and he stitched it. And I found it recently, and I thought, that's right. The advice was water off a duck. And I sleep with it by my bed.
Just don't pay attention. You're beautiful, you're talented.
You get,
I love
the
the
more you're going to read about yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the part that is disgruntling is that falsehoods are perpetuated, and there's really no way that you can clarify it. For example, there was something that was printed once in a Nashville paper, and it was untrue, and they apologized, retracted, the publisher, everyone, very thoroughly. I just read it about myself in London. You know, what can I do? Send them a copy of it? And by the way, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Well, you know, so many actors and actresses have this problem that it almost goes with the territory.
But I like the way you were talking about acting with Barbara before, and you were saying, like you don't know if it's going to work until you're in the situation. I've never heard an actress say that before. I always think that everybody knows they're going to cry here, and they've got to cry. You don't know if you're going to be able to
I
do
think
it.
some people execute a performance, and some very, very well, that they have predetermined. I prefer to try to be spontaneous. And Stephen Elliott, who directed the movie, gave me that opportunity by, for example, saying, don't know what's going to happen, don't know how I'll cover it in close-up, go. See what happens, I'll work out the details and matching shots later.
Can I ask you one final question?
Freedom.
Because in this, I mean, you are so totally the character. And sitting here, how did you lose the Southern accent? You talked about going to school in France.
Well, certainly that helped because I had to learn a new accent for the first time. And I also studied French phonetics. My last year at Kentucky, there was a gal who literally taught us dictionary pronunciation for French. And suddenly, and it was very helpful for acting, I learned about glottal stops and where to do something more authentically, where to place your tongue, and just became aware of the architecture of the mouth. And that's made it pretty easy. And that can really open up a character. I don't talk like this, but for Norma Jean and Marilyn, I did. And it was so embarrassing. I mean, even so, I'd get that, and it's like this ripple of sickness almost because it's so not me. But I had a woman teach me that, and I could be safe with her, and it permitted me to perform that, which otherwise I wouldn't have been able to.
And besides that, you got a great body. Look at that outfit.
You don't need a girdle, baby.
Yeah.
I was enjoying all that lingerie talk.
Do you like that stuff?
I do. I do. But you have to be very careful because sometimes it doesn't actually make the clothes look better and things bump and stick.
Right.
And, you know, like I had on a little brassiere earlier. It's all girls here. And it had a seam in it. And so the sweaters didn't look nice. And we had to change at the last minute.
Well, you look good.
You wear what works.
Exactly.
And you look good in that lingerie, and I hold it too.
Yep, great.
All Valentino.
All Valentino. God, it must be good. Thanks to Ashley Judd. I am the holder, open nationwide today. Go see it. We'll be right back.